Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. Testing, testing. All right. So my microphone is working. I'd like to welcome everyone to Geo Politics Night. Today is May 23rd, 2018. And we have a little bit of drama going on in the world today. And it has to do with our favorite place in the world, what you call it, Middle East. The U.S., I'll just read an article instead of going at the top of the dome. So let me share my screen. All right. This is from RT.com. Name of the, excuse me, the article says U.S.-led strike hits government targets in Syria, per state media. U.S.-led coalition warplanes have bombed several Syrian army positions in the eastern Syrian province of Deir ez-Zor, state media outlet Sana reports, citing a military source. The attack took place shortly after midnight on Thursday. Sana reported that the U.S.-led coalition aircraft inflicted limited material damage and no casualties. The airstrikes, which hit near the city of al-Bukamal, were reportedly coordinated with anti-government militants. Earlier, Lebanon's Hezbollah group, an ally of the Syrian forces in the fight with Islamic State, formerly ISIS or ISIL, said the coalition jets targeted two Syrian army outposts, including an energy installation near the Iraqi border. The area has seen rapid advances by the U.S.-backed Syrian Democratic Forces, SDF, pushing against IS militants near al-Bukamal and moving towards the eastern bank of the Euphrates River. Last week, the SDF announced they took control over a former IS base on the Euphrates River near the Syrian-Iraqi border, moving closer to territory controlled by the Syrian government. Syria has recently been subjected to massive bombardment campaigns by another U.S. ally, Israel, which in early May sent 28 fighter jets that fired some 60 air-to-surface missiles into Syrian territory against what Tel Aviv claimed were targets belonging to the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. Israel said that its largest attack in years was a response to Iran's launching an attack on the Israeli-controlled part of the occupied Golan Heights from Syria. Let me read that again. Israel said that its largest attack in years was a response to Iran's launching an attack on the Israeli-controlled part of the occupied Golan Heights from Syria. The Syrian air defenses retaliated, allegedly firing some 100 missiles at Israeli warplanes. Let's see. This sentence right here. Now I'll read it again. Israel said that its largest attack in years was a response to Iran's launching an attack on the Israeli-controlled part of the occupied Golan Heights from Syria. Let's look up Syria. Maps. Let's zoom in a little bit. All right. This right here on my cursor is is the Golan Heights, and Iran's attack. Iran is over here. As I said, we got a little drama. We got another co-host come in. How you doing today, Mike?
I'm good, brother. You?
I'm well. Got some drama going on.
Yeah, it's a whole lot. It's a dangerous neighborhood over there.
Yeah, oh, my goodness. I saw clicked on the link. Is that echo for me?
It could be.
Do you hear anything?
Let me mute myself.
Hello. Testing.
It could be me too. Let me lower my volume.
All right. I'm looking at the link you sent out, and it's the ongoing talk about what's going on, live coverage. Mm-hmm. And that census I just read about why, and this is from a couple of weeks ago, right? Israel did the largest attack was because Iran's attack on them for, I guess, basically confiscating the Golan Heights from Syria. But now, the U.S.-led strike on Syria, targeting, per this article, it said it targeted some energy installations on the Euphrates River, and I'm understanding obviously that's a tactical strike to cripple their how they come up with energy.
Where is this article from?
It's rt.com.
Okay, yeah. The United States is occupying all of the oil and gas refineries inside Syria. So, as it stands right now, they're trying to hand it over to the Kurds. And what the Syrian government is saying is that we're going to take back every inch of the country, regardless of where it is, including the Golan Heights. So I guess the Golan Heights would be the final place. But they would need more reinforcements because they can't do it all by themselves. So they would need Iran and Russia to be on the ground and control the airspace so that they cannot be retaliated against by Israel, because Israel went in with 28 planes last week, F-15, F-16 fighter jets, and completely destroyed most of Syria's older air defense systems.
All right. Now we have a first new I could say co-host BGS. How you doing tonight?
Hey, what's going on, Liddell?
I'm fine. How you doing?
Pretty good.
Welcome to the channel where Mondays, I was just going to tell you this, Mondays we talk about automation and AI, Wednesdays geopolitics, and Fridays economics.
Okay.
Normally about 2 hours long. We're talking about the news. The U.S.-led strike hits Syria, and I just read an article per RT.com which said the airstrikes mainly hit energy installations near the Euphrates River in Syria.
And they're trying to slow them down.
Yeah, and slow Syria down, the Syrian government down, right?
Well, basically, if you look at the map and look at it as a chess piece, Pakistan's already okay.
You know, let me bring up the map while you talk. So
yeah,
Pakistan's
already gone. Turkey's already gone. Iran is always was. Iraq is in the balance, and basically, if you lose Syria, you probably lose Iraq and probably lose Afghanistan too. The Syria is like Syria is like sitting right in the middle.
Yeah.
So it was neutral. They were neutral because Syria didn't want to get into it, but they forced them into it, and some of that has to do with the French and the French wanted to hold on to what they have in the Middle East because they have a lot of assets in the Middle East, and some of that was actually spurred on by the French. But at this point in time, it's only, they can't stop them because the United States doesn't have enough money to actually fully stop them, and this is going to be a long protracted thing, and so they're trying to hold down the Chinese and Iran. Basically, if you look at the two actors, they're part of SCO. They don't include the Chinese because the Chinese haven't been active in it, even though they got ships in the area. So basically, what they're trying to do is slow the progress down. The biggest key to the whole thing of this whole Syrian thing was Turkey flipping. Turkey is flipped to the other side, so it's only a matter of time. So you can slow them down, but you can't stop them. So basically, what they're doing is trying to slow them down. They're hoping that the Russians will leave. That's what they're really hoping. If they can actually hold out long enough, slow them down long enough, the Russians will leave, or the Russians will run out of money and leave. That's what they're really hoping.
Okay.
Because without the Russians, the Syrians don't have a shot. But
and the Russians are there to help them with their air support and sure up their.
Oh yeah. Basically, Syria is wide open without the Russians and their air support.
And last week we talked about when Israel sent I think it's the 20 missiles into the Golan Heights because I guess Iran initiated a strike on Israel in the Golan Heights.
Well, they had the plane the second time. That was the second time. They had already had a strike against Iran before that. That was their second strike.
That's what they accused them of. They never actually proved that actually happened. They use that as justification to actually launch the strike.
The Russians reported it. Syrians reported, the Russians reported, and the Iranians reported it. So it was actually a second strike. In fact, remember when I think it was one Israeli jet got one or two Israeli jets got shot down in that attack, and then the Israelis denied it that the plane had gotten shot down. Remember that?
Yeah, that was F-16.
It was an F-16. That was the first incursion into Syria. Okay, this is the second one.
That was probably the 8th incursion because they launched multiple air attacks against them in the last 12 months. So that's 8 out of the 12 months.
So in other
what
words,
I'm saying is that
it's not what I'm saying is this was the second one against the Iranians in particular.
Right, but they accused the Iranians of launching mortars into the Golan Heights, which they never proved that actually happened. So they just accused them that that this actually happened. This was justification for them to go in there. But if you listen to the Israeli newspaper, the Haaretz, I think that's the name of it, they said that the Israeli Foreign Ministry wanted to test Syria's air defenses by sending in 28 aircraft to see how fast they can respond. And what they figured out was that Syria had more air defense than they actually preconceived in the first place. And they actually went in there on the ground and sent in some guys to take out the technical operations analysts that were actually firing off the surface air missiles.
They
got in, got out.
Yeah, it's gonna be an ongoing thing, and because basically the Russians, Russians can't stay there forever, and they don't have enough manpower, but the Iranians do, because they're right there. It's nothing for the Iranians to actually send troops over because they're right there, whereas the Russians have to send them all the way, basically all the way across the Mediterranean to get them there.
Well, they just signed a 99-year lease in March to renew their partnership in Syria. The objective was to hand over one of the naval ports to the Iranians to keep them out of range from the Israelis from bombing it. This is supposed to be in Tartus.
Yep, one step at a time, and it's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time.
Mm.
You know, the without basically with all basically all the Israel can do is irritate them without the United States, without help.
And Israel is acting, from what I've been learning, Israel has been acting just like a bully in this area of the world with the U.S. backing.
Yeah, of
They've al-
course.
they've always been a bully. They
Mm.
have to take out Syria first in order to take Lebanon. They can't take Lebanon with Syria still active, which is the final goal.
Well, basically, if they yeah, that's true. But basically, Syria and the Iranians,
Right,
because
because
if you try to take well, because Iraq is already gone, but the Syrian and Iranians, if you try to take Lebanon, then you're gonna have problems with Syria and the Iranians. And right now, if you try to take Lebanon, and the Russians are still there, it's not gonna. If the Russians are still there, it's not gonna happen.
well, they want southern Lebanon. They want the water resources because Israel doesn't have uh, their own natural water resources, which is what they're starving for right now. In
Mm-hmm.
order for Israel to survive, they need that. They need that river that comes down from Lebanon.
Mm-hmm.
And what's preventing them from having that is the resistance force down in southern Lebanon. Now, what has happened last year is that there's been a transfer of technology from the Russians to the Lebanese resistance,
Mm-hmm.
which is Hezbollah. So they have the capability to shoot down at least the F-22 Raptor
Yeah.
at this point.
Yeah. Even if because I remember the guy I bought a car from. He was from Lebanon. He said what drove Israel out of Lebanon in the first place was Lebanese snipers. It's just too many of them. Same thing that eventually drove the Germans out of Moscow. Snipers. There's too many of them. That's what we said. They be in they bomb out a building and the snipe. You know, they have cats with rifles and snipers and with rifles in buildings like a couple days later. So your troops could never. You can't set up because you can't get rid of them all. It's like it's like ants or like termites. You can't get rid of them all. So eventually they had to leave. They couldn't afford it.
Yeah, they took out 1/3 of their tanks, of Israeli tanks, by watching them go up the goat paths that they tried to force their tanks up, and they hit the first tank and hit the last tank, and then the whole convoy just collapsed.
Mm-hmm.
This is amazing.
And then if you had to take over a city, you have to have boots on the ground.
Right.
And you have to basically be able to pacify the populace, and you couldn't. And you have, plus you have, the thing is, if you you have to cut off the inflow of weapons, through Syria from other places. So
Per their road, me and Mike was talking about, that led from Iran through Iraq to Syria to Lebanon, that Israeli wants to destroy.
Yeah, to keep it's a supply road.
And if they have to take out Syria in order to get that water resources from Lebanon, because if they go straight for their water resources, then Syria is going to come into play.
Oh, well, then the thing is, the Lebanese can fight. The thing is, like, if you're going to fight, you need weapons. And where do you get weapons from? How do you get them supplied?
Okay.
They're actually manufacturing their own weapons because they can't ship them in. So there's a lot of technology being transferred from Russia and from Iran and from China that they have to manufacture these missiles. The problem with these missiles is that they go unused and they become stale in the sense that they need to be used within a certain time frame, and they're not being used against Israel. And they're initiating some of the conflict themselves in order to get Israel to actually react so they can hit them.
Okay. Now I'm looking at the map. I'm looking at the map. What I see Cyprus out right near. What role do they play? Does Cyprus play?
Basically, it's just like anything else. It's like it's an island, and basically it's a shipping point. So if you want to smuggle something, where you smuggle it through? If it's by water.
Okay.
Closest spot, Cyprus.
It's actually used as a British air base and a Russian air base as well,
Mm-hmm.
and a naval port.
All right. And I understand China has ships in the area. Where are they? They stationed?
I don't know where they're stationed at. I haven't. I don't. I used to be subscribed to Stratfor, and they used to mark that up. I might have to subscribe to them again because they used to keep track. Stratfor does a very good job of keeping track of military ships, military ship movements.
Stratford.
Mm-hmm. Stratfor, yeah. Stratfor.
ST.
ST Strat STRATFOR Stratfor.
Okay. Now, these Golan Heights. Me and Mike were talking about them, and I understand. One of your hangouts. So we talked about it also.
Military high ground.
Okay, military high ground, and
Mm-hmm.
I remember something that Cerulean said that if Israel launched planes from the Golan Heights, then they can get to Iran without having to refuel
Mm-hmm.
in
The edge of
midair.
it. The edge of it, anyway.
The edge of it.
Mm-hmm.
And also, it has, I guess, as a bonus, it has natural resources there also.
No, it's some. It has a little bit of oil, but basically it's strategic. It's basically the heights. Mean if you were in the military, you're in the Navy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you military science. What do you always want if you're going to have a conflict? You want what?
Oh, the high ground.
High ground, Golan Heights,
Okay.
because it looks down onto the valley on both sides. So if you want a strategic point that you want to defend, if you want to either invade or you want to defend, what do you want? You want the high ground, right?
Right.
That's how come they won't give it up. Because if Syria has high ground, guess what they're going to do? They're going to go on Heights and they're going to shell or send rockets
into Israel.
into Israel, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Because I'm learning more. And a lot of these things, like I've said before, a lot of what's going on is strategic. You take out the factories, you take out the energy resources, and you cripple them. Then you go in for the kill. And right now, go ahead.
Yeah, they're basically they're trying to slow them down. Trying to slow them down. They're trying to bleed them.
Bleed them. Okay.
They do because it's because they're not there. It's not a direct confrontation. Their strikes actually bleed them. So in other words, it's if you're not at 100% to actually come in and actually wipe, because if that's the case, they could just wipe up the Kurds because there's not really much. But without air cover, the Kurds are basically sitting ducks. And if the Iranians come in to help, if you can't get them out, then the Kurds and whoever the other forces are in there are basically sitting ducks. Because they can't. They used to be, because Turkey used to help them. Turkey doesn't help them after the attempted coup. The pro-American forces can't get help from Turkey anymore because you used to get a lot of help from Turkey. They used to get supplies and food and weapons through Turkey, but they can't get it through them anymore.
There was a coup by America in Turkey.
Remember they tried. It was an attempted coup against Erdogan back 2 years ago.
2016.
2016. Yeah.
Why did they do that?
Because
they didn't trust him anymore, and they wanted somebody a little bit more pliable because he wasn't doing what they wanted him to do, and so they tried to form a coup, or they didn't form it. It was an attempted coup, but the thing is they didn't get him because the Russians actually warned him that it was coming, so he was already on a helicopter 100 miles away while the coup was going on. So him and his staff were gone. So when they went there, they weren't there anymore because they were warned. And then basically once they couldn't get him and couldn't get the staff, then basically he was able to rally the forces to come in and mop up the coup within hours. It didn't even take that long. They basically killed few of them, and the rest of them surrendered.
All right. Now, Mike, this okay. Hezbollah. Hezbollah. What role? I understand they're in Lebanon, right?
Correct.
What role are they playing in this whole dramatic?
Hezbollah is a political organization that has a military wing, and they are Shiite based. So they are basically in cahoots with the Iranians.
Mm-hmm.
So they take orders, and their whole organization is built by the Iranian government, or the IRGC, as they call it, the Revolutionary Guard Corps. Now, their role is to keep Israel from coming in, and they actually been participating heavily inside the Syrian battle with the Palestinians against all the incursions from these supposed rebel forces that the United States has been supporting, and Saudi Arabia has been supporting, Qatar has been supporting.
Okay. All right. Now, okay. Now BGS. I have a good working knowledge of the history of Israel. What I fail to understand is how big do they think they're going to get, or how much land and territory do they think they're actually going to take up?
They've been pretty much locked for the last I would say pretty much locked for the last 40 years. They tried to take over they tried to expand into Syria. That didn't work. They tried to take over Lebanon, or southern Lebanon, and that didn't work. They got pushed out. So they're pretty much locked. So that's how come they've been basically trying to push the Palestinians out, because they can't expand outward. They have to expand inward.
So right now, Israel is their crying child that wants that is crying and getting on everyone's nerves.
Yeah, that and you know their original role is basically their original role is basically keep an eye on Syria and basically protect the Suez Canal.
Okay, Suez Canal. Okay,
the Suez Canal, because that's what they're on the border of with Egypt. So they're there to basically protect the Suez Canal. In fact, I think it wasn't in 67. They actually tried to come in and take over the Suez.
You talking about Israel?
Yeah.
So Egypt,
would they had that war with Egypt?
Right. So Egypt put a blockade up against the oil shipments coming into Israel. Israel wanted to prevent that from ever happening again, so they did a preeminent strike against all their air forces that were already on the ground in Egypt and Syria and Jordan.
There was the 67 war.
Yep.
And then they fought them
again. They
again.
took the Golan Heights.
Yeah, and then they fought them again in 73.
The Yom Kippur War.
So basically, Israel, but ever since the Suez Crisis, the Suez Crisis in 56, when the United States intervened against France and Great Britain.
Right, Nasser came in and took Suez back into Egypt's control, and then British didn't like that.
Yeah. So basically, so really, Israel's there. Israel's basically there as a big air base to protect the Suez Canal.
Put there by America.
Well, funded by America. Actually, they're actually put there by the British.
Okay.
The British actually put them there. After World War II, according to the Balfour Agreement, that was actually struck in 1914 or 1917. I think it was 1914. During World War I, the Rothschilds negotiated the Balfour Agreement that Israel there would be a homeland in Israel for the Jews, and it wasn't actually implemented until 1948.
Correct.
The Rothschilds. This whole drama, knowing how it's playing out and knowing what's going on, it's amazing, because it's one thing after another, continuously, over and over and over again.
Yeah, well, yeah, because it's adjustments. It never goes away. They just make adjustments. You know, it always. The thing is, we think of it. Okay, we because the way they teach history, they teach it segment by segment by segment by segment, but they don't teach that. Um, it's a constant adjustment. Okay, it's an action and it's a reaction, and wherever it starts and where you want to say that it started, then something happens and people adjust to it, and then something else will happen and then people adjust to it, and it's a back and forth. So it's been, so the further you go back, you probably can go all the way back 1,000 years and find out where the seed of it actually started.
Because with the knowledge that I had before, history, learned about this. The narrative in the history class is okay. Basically, okay, these Israelites want to return home, but no one wants them there. So because of that, there's been this decades war going on.
They came in. They came was basically all the Ashkenazi Israeli Ashkenazi Jews came in just like the Americans came in, and basically their manifest destiny is to take most of the Middle East, just like the United States took most of the basically damn near the whole continent of North America from one end to the other.
And now learning with these on these little hangouts that we have on Wednesdays, learning about what's going on, the little how everything started, the wars in between, the agreements. Now I know, okay, it's much more than okay, these people came back home and now it's a war. No, it's way much more than that.
No, they came in as settlers. In fact, the Brit when they came in under the British mandate, they actually started to repatriate them. They were supposed to be settlers, and under the British mandate, they were supposed to have their little narrow area right around Jerusalem and no further. But basically, the Israelis drove the British out because they wanted to expand.
Now I saw a video where they were talking about the West Bank. And the West Bank is Palestine. It's Palestine.
Well, yeah, technically it's Palestine, but it's most of that is Israeli settlements now.
Right. And they showed over the years how the Israeli settlements started cropping up, started populating, built colleges, libraries, roads that strategically go around these settlements and lead in and out the West Bank. So now the problem is, okay, if you want to kick them out, you got to kick out all of these establishments that they have, which makes it harder and harder.
So you start a conflict with the Palestinians. You piss them off. They shoot off a few rockets, and you take F-16s and come in and do what? Start bombing their houses, right? Okay, now the houses are rubble. They can't live in them, and what do? They said, okay, nobody's living here. Well, guess what I'm going to do?
Settle.
I'm gonna come in and clean up the rubble and settle. And then because nobody here, because all the Palestinians that used to live here are in where? Refugee camps or refugee areas.
Now, Mike, let me ask you a question. If this continues to go on in the West Bank, where do you think in, let's say, 10 years, where do you think the Palestinians will end up at if they keep getting pushed out?
They won't have anywhere to go. They'll either have to become Israeli or they'll just be homeless because they don't have a nation state.
They don't want them to become Israelis because they outnumber them by almost damn near 3-1.
So they're going to get pushed out.
Yeah, they're going to get pushed out because there was an initiative to actually make all the Palestinians Israeli citizens. But the Israelis saw that, okay, if they're Israeli citizens, they outnumber us almost 3-1. Guess who's gonna control the country? Palestinians. So basically, they have to be pushed out. They can't be there because there's not enough. They can't bring in enough Israelis to actually balance the number out.
Or they can't bring in enough Jews.
Yeah, enough Jews. Yeah, to be Israeli.
So what they've done. what they've done in America is give dual citizenship to all Jewish people
Mm-hmm.
who are American or European
Mm-hmm.
and Russian to Israel in order to bolster up their numbers.
Mm-hmm.
But the agreement that Trump signed basically says that Egypt would take Gaza and that Jordan would take East Jerusalem.
Wow. Okay. Trump actually signed that one.
Yeah, that's why they moved the embassy.
And the Israelis went for that.
That works for them. They don't have to deal. They don't have to deal with the Palestinians. It's off their hands now.
Yeah, but the thing is, okay. So in other words, they're not going to try. They've given up on settling the Gaza Strip.
Yeah, give it to Egypt. Let them
No,
become
what I'm saying,
Egyptian.
in other words, they've given up trying to settle it. So in other words, they just want it off their hands.
Right. The problem is that the Palestinians won't recognize Israel and Syria. By and large, their disagreement with Israel is that it can't be established as a Jewish state because that nullifies all of the non-Jewish people that are there, which is why the Palestinians can't respect it as a Jewish state and can't agree to a settlement in that regard.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is the only reason you hung on to the Gaza Strip this long, the West Bank and the Gaza Strip this long, is because you're trying to settle it. In other words, you're trying to push the Palestinians out. So if you allowed an agreement to actually give the Gaza Strip over to Egypt, that means you've given up on trying to settle it.
Right, and it's of no consequence to them anyways, because there's nothing there for them for the Jewish,
except land, which is something they don't have. They don't have. They need space. They need land. Otherwise, you wouldn't be trying to go into Lebanon because you need space. And the thing is, if you given up trying, because you spent damn near 50 years, 60 years trying to settle the area, trying to push all the Palestinians out and settle the area. So I would like to know for them to actually agree to it what they're getting, or maybe Americans told them that it's untenable. We can't help you hold on to it. Interesting.
Because their borders are not defined. That's one of the reasons why they can't join NATO. In order for a state to join NATO, the borders have to be defined.
Mm-hmm.
And because their borders keep expanding and retracting, it's not making sense for them to even hold on to that little strip of land. So just give it up as it is and establish your state, as well as move the embassies up to Jerusalem. Now, by the United Nations Charter, it states that it's illegal for Jerusalem to actually be the capital of Israel. So I'm curious to know how they finagled the legalese behind all of that.
There's something, there's something that hasn't come forward. My gut tells me it's for Israel to do that, they had to promise them something big. Either they had to promise them something very big, or their position is a lot weaker than we know. Because it doesn't sound right. That just doesn't sound right at all. Why struggle to keep that little strip? You could have made that deal 40 years ago. Why do it now?
And this is the Gaza Strip.
Mm-hmm. You could have made it. You could have made it an independent. Put it under the jurisdiction of Egypt, but made it independent. Could have done a lot of things. So why, especially when the Palestinians were asking for it years ago, how come you didn't do it then? Why do it now? That's what I'm questioning.
Originally, it was Egyptian.
Yeah. Okay. What I'm saying is you could have done it 40, 50 years ago. Why do it now?
Because back then, Egypt would not recognize Israel.
Yeah, that's true.
So in order
in
order for them to get the concessions, they had to come up with the Camp David Accord under Carter. So Carter was the one that initially brokered the original deal with the Sinai.
What I'm saying is you didn't, because one other, well, you tried under Carter. I think you tried under not Reagan, but you tried under Clinton. Why what is it, 40 years later, damn near, do you do it? Doesn't make sense. Something else is going on. Doesn't smell right to me. Just doesn't smell right to me. Can't prove it. Haven't looked at it, but it doesn't smell right to me. There's something else going on. There's something behind this. Because the Israelis don't give up an inch of fucking territory without some kind of concession. I mean, I do mean an inch. I do mean an inch. They don't give up an inch of territory. They don't just sign an inch of territory over without some kind of concession. There's a reason they gave it up, and it just doesn't make this does not make sense.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
But just the person, just a reasonable country, yes. Israel, the Israelis, no. Doesn't make sense. What I'm saying is, it could be, it could be everything that Mike is talking about. It just doesn't smell right to me. Doesn't smell right. Does not smell. It's not in their character. There's something else behind. There's something behind this, and Trump is not the. Trump is not a scope. He's not the best geopolitical negotiator. There's something going on. You had to give him something. There's something that's there. I don't know what it is.
Okay.
There's something there. I don't know. Maybe they're afraid of the Russians. I don't know. There's something that's going. There's something that because for them to make this a major move just like that doesn't smell right. It just doesn't.
Okay. Now, it's something that we talked about last week. I want to touch on and Djibouti. And all of these bases in Djibouti, because
look where it is.
Yeah, because it's at the mouth of the Red
Sea. What comes through there?
Trade. Yeah.
Oil going to Europe.
Yeah. Now me and Mike has been talking about all of these bases in Djibouti. You got the Russians, the Chinese, Americans. You have I guess think 2 other countries there also.
And you got look on both sides, not just where it is there, but look at it as in relationship to the other countries: Sudan, Ethiopia, Kenya, Tanzania. And what do you have? And basically, what do the Chinese have going through there?
They have trade.
They have trade. They got rail lines. They got roads. They got all kinds of stuff. So basically. Djibouti is the main jump-off point for that whole region, Eastern Africa.
And I still hold the thought that with all of those military bases in that small area, something is going to happen.
I doubt it. I mean, basically, I know the Chinese have been harassing the pilots trying to fly over their bases with lasers, with laser lights.
Yeah. Okay, so oil. Okay, I understand oil. Oil obviously coming from the Gulf, the Persian Gulf, such as Qatar, the UAE, Kuwait,
Iran, all those places. Yeah,
and they're coming around this, and they come around
the Strait of Hormuz, and then back up to the Red Sea, which is
along, which me and Mike agree, and
then through the Suez.
It is a longer route
than what?
Than going straight through these territories, such as Iraq, Syria, Turkey.
Because it's more efficient to do. You can't do it by truck. So basically, it's only 2 ways: either pipeline or ship, which is more efficient.
I would say pipeline is more efficient.
Nope, actually, ship is.
But can't you get more through the pipelines?
You can get. The thing is, the length of the pipelines the cost of the pipelines, the length of the pipelines, and the maintenance of the pipelines. It's actually cheaper because they were talking about like natural gas coming from Qatar and other places like that, right? I think it's Qatar. Yeah, Qatar. They said it's actually like. They said it was like maybe damn near 20% cheaper to do it by ship than it was to actually build a pipeline. That was LNG, liquid natural gas. They were thinking about putting a pipeline.
Go ahead, Mike.
No, I was just going to say, as it stands right now, they don't ship anything to Europe.
Who?
Qatar.
Last I looked, I was just looking. I think that was Qatar. It might have been. I think it was Qatar. I was actually looking.
Europe gets their gas from Russia.
I know, but it's no. They get LNG from Qatar because I was just looking at it. I just read the article. Yeah,
They get they get
LNG.
LNG as well from
Yeah, the what is it? Qatar has that big LNG port, and it ships LNG to Asia and to Europe because they were just talking about that. It was actually cheaper to ship the stuff to Western Europe than it was to actually put a pipeline up. That's how come they abandoned the idea.
right. And you have the North Stream, and then you have the South Stream pipelines that come out of Russia through Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
The South Stream goes into Turkey, and the North Stream goes into Germany. So
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying is there's no real benefit to buy gas from Qatar because it will be more expensive because they already had established contracts.
What I'm saying, it's like France, Spain, Italy, all those other places that get LNG. There's a lot of places get it, but I'm saying I was just reading it for Qatar to sell it for Qatar sells it in two places. They sell it to Asia and to Europe. That's like they abandoned the pipeline because it was too expensive, and plus, especially in a zone that's not exactly stable.
Right, and this is Qatar's last go around. If they can't sell or push that pipeline through Syria, which is not going to happen at this point, they're pretty much out of business.
They let me see if I can find this. I just read the article. Just what? I just read it. I didn't think it was that important. Actually read the article. I did because I actually did it because it was actually Ulysses that had the argument. I actually did put it up as a video. I can't remember the name of the video, but I actually did put it up and actually actually read the article and showed the ship because they do have it. And they said they were saying it was 7.7 cents per whatever it was to actually if they built the pipeline and it was like 5.5 cents per something or other if they just shipped it to LNG and basically Qatar actually sells they sell more LNG to Asia than they do to Europe. So basically it makes no sense for them to do it.
Right, and as it stands right now, Trump is trying to push LNG from the United States to Europe and force the Europeans to buy that.
Yeah, so basically, there's a market. There's a big natural gas market for it, and Qatar does sell it because like I said, I just read about 2 articles that said it.
I'm not saying they don't sell it. What I'm saying is 2/3 of Europe's energy comes out of Europe, out of Russia. So the small significant portions that come out of Qatar is not worthy of either a regional war or making a pipeline in the first place.
Oh no. That's what I was just saying. It's not worth a war. And basically they killed the pipeline long ago.
Now, Mike, let me ask you this: you said if Qatar can't do what they plan on doing, they're out of business. What do you mean by out of business?
They need to increase their profits in order to make the shareholders happy, and because they can't expand into Europe through Syria and through Turkey, it makes their GDP go down. And this is part of the reason why Saudi Arabia is starting to diversify their portfolio with this whole NEOM project, because they can't rely on natural gas and oil in the next maybe 20 to 30 years, because
they said the biggest barrier to Qatar actually building the pipeline was not actually Syria. The biggest problem to their pipeline was actually Saudi Arabia.
Right, and the Emirates are also having the same problem.
So the easiest way, if they were really serious about building a freaking pipeline, they build it through Iraq and not they'd actually build it through Iraq into Turkey, around Syria.
Well, as it stands right now, Lebanon and Russia has discovered gas right outside of Beirut in the Mediterranean Sea. So now the goal is to establish natural gas and oil pipelines, ports into Beirut,
Mm-hmm.
and start shipping some of that stuff into Europe too, with Gazprom. Now, the threat that the Israeli foreign minister had against Lebanon is that if they think about establishing that sort of port, that they're going to bomb it. And Putin responded back that this isn't going to happen. We're going forward with this.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the problem, they have the same problem that Yemen has, that Yemen is sitting on a lot of gas and a lot of oil. And if Yemen was able to get those resources out of the ground, then Saudi Arabia is now out of business, because it's going to be more cost efficient to pump it out of Yemen and build a port than it would be for Saudi Arabia to actually do business.
Yeah, well, it'll get figured out. It's only so long they can actually keep this up.
Right, which is why they started bombing.
Yeah, they started bombing. Well, they can slow them down. They can't stop them, but they can slow them down. And basically, you're basically speeding up. You're actually speeding up the direction it's going anyway. So all you're doing is speeding things up.
Okay.
It's like being desperate at the end of a chess game. You can be desperate, but you're gonna start making mistakes. You're actually speeding up the game rather than actually helping yourself win.
Now, Saudi Arabia diversifying their portfolio. They're weaning themselves off the natural resources game and going into. I believe I saw the NEOM project, the new future, as they would put it. Project
it's their version of Silicon Valley.
Yes, with cryptocurrencies, technology, and so forth and so forth.
Right. Right. You're seeing the Emiratis try to pull the same tactic by creating a whole blockchain economy out of their society.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's the way it's going anyway. So. I mean, it's only a matter. It's only a matter of time, because nobody after 2008, nobody really trusts the dollar. Nobody.
Yeah, that's understandable. Yeah, and now it seems it to be honest, a lot of what's going on and cryptocurrencies just seem to come in at a miraculous time, and we all know nothing happens
Well, yeah, you got traction because you got it. All of a sudden, you got the Chinese got behind it. You get 1 billion people behind it. It's going to move. It's going to move, and once it gets traction, say with the Chinese, it gets its initial traction, and then it actually adds more people, so it's got momentum, because a lot of your third world countries are basically using it as a workaround to get off the dollar, which is why they're attacking Venezuela as far as financially. Because Venezuela was trying to introduce their petro to get around the dollar, and the United States cannot afford for Venezuela to get it slip through their grasp.
Why so?
Because Venezuela has maybe the largest oil reserves in the world.
The United States gets 2/3 of their barrels out of Venezuela.
Really?
Is it 2/3? Okay, because the last figures I looked at was like 15% of their energy comes out of Venezuela.
Really?
Yeah. They can't afford for Venezuela to slip through their grasp.
The problem, the problem is that all of the OIC, which is the Organization of Islamic Countries, have invested into Venezuela's petro. So they're already up almost $20 billion into the cryptocurrency itself. So it's pretty much established at this point.
Yeah, but the thing is, they actually trade. Venezuela still needs dollars. So why they still need dollars? And you can't attack them later. You have to attack them now.
I remember when they first mentioned that Venezuela was going to. I remember when Venezuela first mentioned they're going to do the cryptocurrency. The America outlawed citizens from investing. So now I see why. Okay, now that's a move. I understand.
Yeah. It's everybody's trying to slowly wean themselves off the dollar without. It's like playing weaning yourself off the dollar system. It's like playing Jenga.
Okay.
Okay, you're trying to you're trying to slowly but surely wean yourself off without what the whole system, the whole thing collapsing. So it's like a big old Jenga puzzle. You know, what piece can you slide out without the whole structure collapsing?
And they're actually winning at this point now because the price of oil went from $40 up to $71, I think, as of this week. So Venezuela is actually making money back on their sales.
Yeah, but the thing is, without without credit or without dollars, they're having a hard time getting in oil service equipment into Venezuela. I just heard about that. Maybe what is it? A few days ago, I was just listening to it and I'm reading it and then listening to it that their biggest problem was that getting oil service equipment to actually keep their oil wells and that stuff actually going. There's where they can't actually sell it. So,
Well,
United
Iran,
States trying to cripple them. Go ahead.
no, I was just going to say that Iran is actually down there helping them right now.
Yeah, yeah. What I'm saying is, it's going to slow them down. The thing is, and when your economy is is in the shitter, you know, it, every day counts.
Mm-hmm.
Which is probably one of the reasons that they're actually having these sanctions against Iran.
Because Iran is helping other people.
Because of Venezuela and a few other things,
Well, because they're all OPEC members.
Well, yeah, what I'm saying is that they're OPEC members. What I'm saying is, if Venezuela is trying to get around the IMF and the dollar, and you need to hold them in place, and you know that they're the only way for them to get goods and services into actually, especially oil service equipment and stuff like that, to actually keep their oil economy going. How do you cripple it? Try to cut off the supply of stuff that they need going in, and actually keep their industry going. So it's a cat and mouse game.
Now, as I do more and more of these talks, I'm understanding the chessboard. I've said this plenty of times. I'm understanding the chessboard more and more. I understand the strategic ways. You just don't go into war. That I knew that before, but I understand the strategic moves these countries are doing. And one, say 10 years ago, two countries, like Mike, you put it succinctly, you only have permanent interests but limited friends. So 10 years ago, you may have had bad blood with this country. 10 years later, now you're patching that up and you're trying to get what you need with that country that you previously had bad blood, and it goes on and on and on.
Yeah, all wars start with a business dispute.
Real. I like
what they're talking about. What they're talking about right now, and I just watched the interview with Maduro, that Colombia is mounting up their military forces to invade Venezuela as we speak.
Yeah, with the help of
backed by the United States.
Yeah, I know what. Nat, when you said that, I kind of just listening to you all. When you said that, it popped in my head. Okay, why they doing this? America must be using them as a proxy.
Okay, well, to put yourself. You can be any president you want to the United States. Okay, if Venezuela has perhaps the biggest oil reserves on the planet, and you get anywhere from 10 to 20% of your oil from Venezuela, whether it's actual or potential, right? And they're getting ready to slip through your grasp.
You got to keep them there.
You got to keep them there, and if you can't do it if you can't do it by persuasion,
do it by force.
What I'm saying is this: what are the three ways, three aspects of force? What is it? Persuasion, money or wealth, and force. Okay, they can't persuade them to do it because they don't have friendly they don't have a friendly government down there that's listening to them, right? So after that, you try to do what with the care. Well, the thing is, basically they try to buy out the elite with money, and when they couldn't do that, they attacked their currency and they attacked their financial system, right? Okay, if those two things don't work, what do you have left?
War.
Military force.
Military force, yes.
Military force. So basically, and basically that's what the Army War College said. Okay, if you want to maintain what you have and keep the empire structure from crumbling, what are you going to have to do? Pay us, because all you have left is what? or you got a leftist force.
So now Colombia, like you said, Michael, they're shoring up their military to attack Venezuela.
You can't attack. It's very difficult with Russia and China to actually come in and attack a socialist country by yourself, okay, without raising some kind of eyebrows. So what do you need? You need a proxy, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who's your proxy?
In this case, Colombia.
Colombia. And maybe after Colombia, Panama. Who knows? But Colombia is right there.
Yeah, and Guyana's next to Venezuela.
Well, yeah, Guyana's more a Commonwealth country, though.
What you say, Mike?
No, I was just going to say that Nicaragua is actually basically a Russian base now at this point,
or Chinese, depending on which way you want to look at it.
They put their cyber intelligence, as well as what do you call it, a tank agreement with Nicaragua. So they basically turned it into a little base for themselves, rather than use Cuba.
Okay.
So basically they took out the black community for what? So baby, you look back 30 years later, they took out the whole black community, and Nicaragua is still socialist. It's still, because you wanted to take out the Russians and the socialists in Nicaragua, and guess what? 30 years later, they're still there. So
wait,
basically,
they took out
so basically, you sacrifice the whole black community for nothing.
Took out the black community in Nicaragua?
No. The black community, they sold crack.
They
distributed crack and cocaine basically to take out the Russians. So basically, the Congress wouldn't give them any more money to actually go down to Nicaragua and fight the Sandinistas. So the only way they had to fight the Sandinistas, they had to supply them with weapons and money. So where did they get the weapons and money from? By selling drugs. And where did they distribute the drugs through?
LA black community.
Black community. All over the country. Okay. And it worked temporarily. The Russians went down. Basically, Nicaragua had to have concessions. They came to the table. They had to have concessions. The Soviet Union fell. So initially it did work, but
the black community paid for it.
Oh, what haven't we paid for?
Yeah, and that's funny when people say, "Oh, we can't." Yes, we can. We've been doing it unsuspectingly throughout all these years.
Mm-hmm. So they would love to actually distribute the opioids through the black community. And I said, why would they do it through the black community? Because you don't care about them. When you get ready to shut off the tap, you can do it because it's contained. Whereas the broader white community, you can't contain that. Like you can't get a hold of the opioids because the opioids was not distributed through the black community. So you can't start locking people up and arresting people and you can't shut it down. You could actually stem the flow of cocaine. But you can't. But the opioids you can't, because you don't manufacture it. You have no control of the pipeline, and basically and it's not distributed through the black community because you can't shut it off.
Okay, I understand what you're saying.
Mm-hmm. Whereas in the black community with cocaine, or basically crack cocaine, especially, you can. Once they were done, after the wall fell, the sale of crack cocaine, the crack cocaine industry went downhill. It didn't even last 4 or 5 more years. It went
down.
Yeah, it went down. They just shut it all down. After 15 years of it be running rampant.
Now, what we just spoke about with the Middle East, and of course, like you said, the business deals and everything.
Mm-hmm. Oh, but if you look at the map, okay, Pakistan used to be an ally, right? But they're a Chinese and Russian ally, right? Iran always was. All the stands are actually are already part of SEO or Russians and Chinese. Okay. India is still on the fence, but they're part of the BRICS. So basically, if the only thing that's holding it up is what Iraq and Afghanistan.
Now I was going to say, where does the China's Belt and Road Initiative play into this?
They go through. They go through. Now the road actually, you can actually type in China Belt and Road. They actually show you the actually infrastructure, but the roads actually go from eastern China all the way into well, basically all the way into London, basically, because they have a train and they have a road for distribution, but it goes through the top and into Europe. And then the belt, which is a trade belt by ship, actually goes all over the world. They're actually going from through Asia to Africa and basically to Latin America through Brazil and Nicaragua and places like that. So
the road goes from China to Kazakhstan.
Yeah, but basically all the way to basically to London, because there's actually a train line. They actually connected the train line going
France to London.
To London, yeah. So all of basically it touches basically all of Europe.
Now, can this quote unquote change the game in terms of alleviating some I don't want to say war, some military force in the Middle East?
No, it's more for trade. It's not basically the Middle East. Basically all the Middle East war is basically to actually slow the Chinese and the basically slow the BRICS down. It's not going to stop them, slow them down, because that's where the oil, that's where they get their energy from. See, all the Middle East is where Asia gets its energy from, the vast majority of it.
Okay.
So all your Asian countries, even including China, gets the vast majority of its energy from the Middle East. So if you put that in jeopardy, that will slow them down. So basically you're trying to keep control of it. But if Iran's already flipped. If Afghanistan and Iraq flip, and Syria, and basically if Iran and Iraq actually flip over to the other side, to the BRICS and or the China's and the SEO, which is the Shanghai Cooperative, and Turkey's already gone. Basically you have basically Saudi Arabia and Israel by itself. And the Saudis will flip. They're not going to get stuck in the Middle East by themselves with nothing but Israel as an ally.
Oh no, I wouldn't want. I wouldn't want that either.
Iran is actually becoming an observing member of the EEU as it stands right now.
Really?
Which is the Eurasian Economic Union.
Oh yeah. Basically, they're basically the SEO is the main heart. Shanghai Cooperative is the main heart. That's what got the ball rolling with even before the BRICS. The SEO, when China actually bailed out Russia and formed that pact, and then after they formed that pact, then they brought in all the stands, or basically most of the former Soviet Union. And then was it 2004, 2005, after the United States threatened to actually bomb Iran, basically they made Iran part of the SEO, and I think the SEO. I think Pakistan is an observing member of the SEO now, and they've been trying to. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that they're being considered for the BRICS Plus with Egypt, and Nigeria.
Yeah, but the main heart of that heart is always the SEO, because that's actually the military wing. In other words, you get military backing if you're part of the SEO, where you don't have it as much as a BRICS. BRICS are more of a economic pact than it is. You really don't get the same military. You can, but it's not to the same level that the SEO is. Mm-hmm. So if you're going to be on the side of Russia and China, you'd rather be a part of the Shanghai Cooperative.
Shanghai Cooperative. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, just on one last topic
Mm-hmm.
before we close it out, this
Mm-hmm.
volcano that's going on in Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
Have you all been following that?
Yeah, they actually have. If you look on YouTube, they actually have a camera set up to actually watching the lava flows. It's pretty intense.
Yeah, it is. I've been watching what's it, the Military News Network, something like
Yeah,
that.
but I think the if you put in Kilauea, I think it's Kilauea lava in YouTube. They actually have a camera on site in somebody's backyard where they're actually watching the lava boil over, and it's pretty intense. You know, it's
I,
pretty intense. I wonder what's going to happen to the island because
yeah.
that's probably as bad as I think it's probably as bad as it's been in quite some time.
I when fissures started popping up, I've looked at some videos and the people there, these people been there for decades. They
Mm-hmm.
say, well, it's I forgot the name of the guy. It's up to the God now. It's his island.
Mm-hmm.
They. I'm like, what? Like, okay, there's a level in which you can just be brainwashed and
Mm-hmm.
don't do anything for yourself. And
Mm-hmm.
a lot of these people are at that level.
They got no place to go. What do you do when you got no place to go?
You can't do nothing.
You can't do nothing. Well, you either wait for it to just, especially white folks. They try to. Well, we're gonna wait it out and see what happens, and that's what they do. It happens all the time. I'm used to it in California because we get floods and also we get fires. You know, you get a lot of fires, and I've heard that a million times. Throughout my life. You know,
Because
we gonna wait for it to subside and see if we can rebuild. That's what they're gonna do.
the from what I guess the volcanists, you call them volcanists,
Mhm.
they're saying the gases that this thing is releasing,
It's
it's like,
poison.
right, it's
Yeah,
poisonous in
yeah.
a small tiny
It's sulfur.
glass
Yeah, yeah.
where you don't want to breathe it in. Once it hits the water, you would think if it hits the water, okay, it's just sting. Like, no, that's not sting, it's poisonous.
Mm-hmm. It changes the chemical way. It basically poisons the water because it's there's a lot of rare earths and toxic gases and stuff like that. That basically you have rock and you have metal there, all kinds of stuff that's been liquefied,
Okay.
and all the impurities that are in there will actually come in and actually poison the water.
God, I wonder if this thing just going to erupt, or if it's just just doing this and not really going to erupt.
Man, already, well, we're talking about blow. It's already erupted. The thing is in a big eruption you're talking about.
Yeah, big eruption.
Yeah, I'm talking about big blow. Normally, normally you get a big blow off when there's a dome over it.
Mm.
Then you get a big blow off. But the thing is, if it's letting off lava, then the likelihood you'll have enough pressure to actually blow off. It's probably not as great.
Like Mount St. Helena.
Yeah, my son, it gave off a lot of steam and smoke. It was no lava until it blew.
And this is on a big island. Okay. Yeah. Oh, because it's covering this whole side of the island with this green area right here.
Mm-hmm.
That's a nice chunk of the island.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I saw it. I said, "Oh, that lava's boiling up. That's no joke. That's not no little just lava flow.
Yeah, it's
That's a big
streams.
it's a big lava flow."
It's streams and streams of it. It's taking
Mm-hmm.
over.
Mm-hmm.
You got any input on this, Mike?
I was at a IoT meeting last night, and they were talking about this, and they were talking about putting sensors with blockchain technology to monitor all of this activity.
Mm-hmm. They ain't got enough sensors.
Well, you use the sensors to collect the data in order to get a predictive measure on what to report and what's accurate and what's not. Because if you report false information, then what happens is a malicious actor can come in and actually manipulate that data and could push out fake news, right? So then you have something like the you know, the siren that went off in Hawaii before about North Korean missile strike coming
Oh
and
yeah.
stuff. So those are the things that we were talking about last night. But that's the extent of what I know of it.
Well, any other last points that you all wanted to speak about?
No, not really. Yeah, but I don't even know how that alarm got set off with the North Korean missile strikes. As many of the military satellites as we have looking for launches. Them bad boys can't even get off the ground before the missiles can't even get off the freaking a missile that big can't even get off the ground before the satellite will actually spot it and determine which way it's headed. You know, Sam, you know, basically, NORAD monitors NORAD monitors space junk. So there's nothing they really can get through, you know, without them knowing about it. I mean, not get through, but be launched without them knowing about it.
Okay.
You can't even have an underground test without NORAD knowing about it.
Yeah, but there's nothing they can do about it once it's airborne. They can't really do anything about it.
It depends. Yeah, it depends on the missile. Depends on the missile.
Because once the warhead's deployed, it doesn't have to hit the ground. It only needs to hit within the radius, and that's it. And pretty much SOL.
It depends on how the missile's set for. If it's set for an air burst, nah, there's nothing you can do about it. If it's set for a ground burst, that's different. But for an air burst, nah, not much. If you can't get it before it re-enters the atmosphere, there's not a whole lot you can do about it. Kind of lessen the impact, because I don't think the warhead's big enough to actually it'll irradiate parts, but I don't think it's not going to do a devastating amount of damage.
Well, according to the nuclear test that they had, I mean, they're talking 8 to 9 9.0. 8 to 9.0 magnitude on the Richter scale. So if it's doing that much, you know, damage on the Richter scale, I can only imagine what it's doing if it is deployed.
Well, if you have enough throw weight to actually get the bad boy up.
Well, if they've proven that they can get their missiles up, though.
And the thing is, get it up, and you have to deliver it that far. Yeah. And even if you did and you could, basically you've just committed suicide. Which basically they might throw off a couple of missile tests here and there, but basically all those missiles are defensive. I think they have 40. 40 is not enough to do anything, not against the United States. All it can do is keep the United States off your ass. That's about it.
All right. Well, thank you all for coming in. This has been another showing of Geopolitics Wednesday. Appreciate you all coming every Wednesday. Mondays is Automation AI, Wednesday Geopolitics, and Friday Economics.
So you're filling up the frame, huh? You're starting to understand the chessboard more, huh?
Yeah, I am.
It's starting to make sense, huh?
Yeah, actually, it is. It is starting to. It's not, because at first I thought it was just willy nilly, you know, just gleaming information here and there, but now it's starting to fill in.
It's not okay. 20 years ago was a lot tougher because there were a lot more pieces on the board, but right now there's not as many pieces. It's like more like an end game. There's only so many pieces. You only have so many pieces that you need to follow, because even though the moves are subtle, they're basically in one little area. So if they make a move, you can understand what they're doing. Just like it's really easy to understand. Like when I did the thing about Meghan Markle.
Yeah.
And because when he got engaged to her, and when they went on vacation, I said, well, why the hell are they going on vacation in Africa? So, oh, this is political. And then, but right before the wedding, I saw that the heads of the heads of government of the Commonwealth actually showed up a month earlier than before the wedding, and Prince Harry and Meghan Markle actually spoke there. I said, okay. And then come to find out, they've been planning this since 2010.
Planning the wedding.
Well, they've been planning the Brexit. They had started planning the
Oh,
Brexit in
okay, okay.
2010. They started planning the Brexit. They had started planning Brexit as an out in 2010 because they've been trying to slowly but surely get make overtures to their Commonwealth members over the left since 2010, and after 2011, after 2012 when Syria didn't go its way, I think Great Britain knew it's time to go and trying to use your backup plan. I think the Commonwealth is the backup plan. So basically, I think pretty much they made told Prince Harry who yeah this is you need to find you a woman of color.
Yeah, to
Yeah,
make it look like they
yeah,
are.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So she's on board because she's already working for the Commonwealth, the Commonwealth organization that they already set up. They have it somewhere. I might post it.
Yeah, like when things being broken down and you're allowed to when someone lets you in
Mm-hmm.
to show you, okay, this is what happened, and you pick up the breadcrumbs like, okay, now it's making more
It
sense.
now makes more sense. Yeah, but if what I said, a lot of times, say like this thing with Israel and them possibly letting the Gaza go. I said, okay. I said it doesn't sound right, but the thing is, you need more breadcrumbs to actually figure out what the deal is. Um, just like with Zimbabwe and the coup, and then them talking to Great Britain. I remember me and Cerulean were arguing about it. He said, saying that basically. Zimbabwe is not just betrayed its citizens and said we don't even know what the deal is yet. Let's see what they're giving up. Evidently, Great Britain is going to have to give up a whole lot more than they have been. So if they want their Commonwealth back, and basically all the Commonwealth members have told them they need a lot more from Great Britain. So evidently, the Queen said yes. So we'll see. We'll see. But I'm saying keep an eye on it. I might post a couple things for you, do a couple of videos for you so you can get a better idea. I'm sitting on a whole lot of stuff that I haven't even posted.
Yo, what's your Patreon?
Uh, Man, I'll actually send it to you. I haven't even put
Okay.
anything up. I'm supposed to. In fact, I'm supposed to be working on the first couple of lessons because I'm actually going to do Gold, Dollars, and Power as a beginning, the first book study for the Patreon.
Yeah, because I'm when you do that, I'm gonna read along and
Okay. Yeah. In fact, the intro. Read the intro because the intro is really interesting.
okay,
Yeah,
cool, cool.
read the not the introduction. But yeah, read the introduction. It's real interesting. You actually can learn a lot just from the intro alone because I think he actually wrote this book for the Council of Foreign Relations, and I think that intro was more like his more like an offering. In other words, how you have perspectives, what I'm going to write about, and why you should pay me some money to write this book.
Okay.
It sounded more like that. So
Yeah,
now it makes sense why the Council of Foreign Relations is actually trying to hide this book.
he kept it real.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Well, more than real, man. I said, I mean, I was just rereading this stuff. I said, damn. I said he gave up a lot of game in this book. I mean, a lot of game, a lot of stuff that people do not understand, like how he explained liquidity. If you read just the intro, he explains liquidity and what it is,
okay,
especially in the system. And he gave up a lot of game. I can see why they want this book not to be popular
all
because
right.
they moved his ass, man. They moved his ass quick because he was at University of Texas, and then they gave him his own little uh, think tank, and then now he's at MIT. And how many history professors, go from the University of Texas to MIT?
Hmm, very interesting.
Hmm.
I like hangouts like this where we can really talk about the realness.
Yeah, well, but yeah, this is well, not everybody's interested in this stuff.
Yeah, that's what we've all come to find out.
Yeah, and basically it takes a certain baseline of knowledge so you even understand this stuff. 'Cause you can't understand it overnight. In other words, I could give you the game, but the thing is, for you to even understand it, you have to have a certain knowledge under your belt just to even understand what I'm talking about.
Mhm.
Because now a lot of stuff that I've said over the years, we probably makes more sense now than it did then.
Yeah, because I've been actually listening to a lot of your videos that you've done in the past, such as the mass unemployment, things like that, and a few things you did like last year, July time frame.
Mm-hmm.
And I listened to it, I'm like, man, this is some good stuff because you're hearing more and more about it now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. Well, basically, okay, when we actually put our think tank together back in 2006. What we wanted to do, because we could have done current events, what we wanted to do is give Black folks lead time. So we wanted we want something that was just emerging. So you'd have a lead time of anywhere from 18 months up to sometimes even 5 years before this stuff actually manifests. So a lot of stuff I give you that's hot off the press is uh, you you'll start, you can see it forming over time, but the thing is you won't really feel the impact for 18 months. Like the stuff I said about Trump even before he's elected. Okay, a lot of people didn't know he was going to think he was going to elect it, and two, they didn't think it would affect them, especially Black women. But now 18 months later, it's obvious to everybody.
Yeah.
I mean, now it's obvious.
Yeah.
When I said it back when I said it back then, I used to get cussed out, but now it's obvious.
First they hate you. Well, first
First they fight you.
Yeah.
They
hate you.
No, first they ignore you, then they fight you, and then you win.
Yeah.
I love fights because that means you got to do. And the first thing I say, prove me wrong, because if you walk through the research, I mean, you might have a disagreement here or there, but he can say, okay, I can see his point. I can see his point.
Well, with all that said, ladies and gentlemen, please tune in like Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Try to keep it to 2 hours. To stay succinct, and that's about it.
All right.
Any last words?
Nope. Good being with you. I'm glad that you're taking it to heart, man, and actually digging in. You must be getting close to 40, man.
Yeah, I turned 36 this year, so.
Okay, yeah, you're getting closer. So basically, it's now you want to understand the world.
Yeah.
And how things work, and that's basically almost when I started. Well, now I was actually 34, and when I actually really wanted to dig in and actually understand how things worked.
Any last words, Mike?
No, I think I'm good. I think we covered most of the what we need to cover.
All right.
Well, you all have a good night.
All right.
Have a good one.
All right now.